There was a study where researchers gave a group of rats a choice: artificially sweetened water on one side, cocaine sweetened water on the other. 94% of the rats chose. Okay, let me ask you something. When was the last time that you went a full day without eating any sugar? Now, I'm not talking about the obvious stuff. I'm not talking about the candy and the soda. I mean all of it. The stuff that they renamed so you would not recognize it on the label. Because here is something that stopped me cold when I first learned this. There are over 60 different names for sugar on food labels right now, over 60. And food companies use them, every single one of them, not to help you, but to hide from you. Now, I eat sugar every single day for over 50 years, and I put it in my coffee every morning. I cooked with it. I even tap my own maple trees right here on my property and boil the sap into syrup with my own hands. I was proud of that syrup. 80 extra pounds. I had fatty liver disease. I had high blood pressure, psoriasis, psoriatic arthritis, and on. And I could not figure out why nothing I tried was working. Now, before we go any further, I am not a doctor. I'm a regular guy from Ontario, Canada, who got sick of being sick and fixed it with food. Talk to your doctor, please, before you make any changes to your diet. Okay, how much sugar are we actually eating? Let me start with a number that physically stopped me when I first heard it. In the 1800s, the average person consumed about 22 grams of sugar per day. Today, in North America, we consume about 100 to 200 grams every single day. That is roughly 10 times more than our ancestors. Now, let me give you a visual here. Imagine filling a bathtub with sugar. 1 bathtub per year per person. That is what the average North American is putting in their body every 12 months. Not sprinkled on top of their food, hidden inside the food. Okay, let's talk about how sugar took over our food supply. For most of human history, sweet food was hard to find. Berries in the summer, honey if you were lucky enough to find a beehive, maple syrup if you lived wherever maple trees were growing. These things existed in small amounts and they were seasonal. Your body was designed to handle them in very small doses. Then came sugar factories. Refined sugar got cheap, fast. And then in the 1970s, something happened that poured fuel on this fire. The low-fat movement. Doctors and governments told everyone that fat was the enemy. So food companies pulled the fat out of everything. And here's the problem. When you pull the fat out of food, what does it taste like? Cardboard. So they replaced it with sugar. Low-fat yogurt, low-fat salad dressings, low-fat granola bars. If you are a Canadian or an American and you were alive in the 80s, you remember Snackwells. They were marketed as the healthy choice. They were full of sugar. People ate them thinking that they were doing the right thing. They were getting heavier and sicker every year. The fat did not cause the epidemic. The sugar that they put in to replace that fat did that for us. So what is the sugar actually doing to our body? Okay, this is the part I want you to really sit with, because once I understood this, my whole health history started to make sense to me. 3 things happen when you eat too much sugar too often for too long. Problem number 1, out of the 3, the blood sugar roller coaster. Every time you eat sugar, your blood sugar spikes. Think of your bloodstream like a river. Sugar is like somebody dumping buckets of dirt into that river. A little dirt, the river handles it just fine. But multiple times a day, every day for years, and the river cannot keep up. The body sends out insulin to clean it up. The insulin is your cleanup crew. So their job is to take the sugar out of your blood and put it somewhere. And most of the time, that somewhere is in fat storage. Now, here's the part that changed how we should see everything. While that crew is busy storing sugar as fat, they're not burning fat. You cannot store fat and burn fat at the same time. That is not a willpower problem. That is just how the system works. And when you eat sugar over and over, year after year, your cells eventually stop responding to the insulin the way that they should. because they're tired of listening to you. And that is now called insulin resistance. And here's what insulin resistance feels like. You eat, you feel okay for an hour, and then you crash. You reach for something sweet just to function in that afternoon. Brain fog, it sits on you like a wet blanket. Belly fat, you can't get it to move, no matter what you try. Cravings that feel completely out of control. Every 30 minutes, you're looking for more. I had every single one of those. I thought it was just getting older, but it was not my age. It was the insulin resistance, and the sugar was what was driving that problem. Okay, let's talk about what sugar is actually doing to your liver. Now, this one's personal for me because I had fatty liver disease diagnosed on my chart, and it was one of my 12 problems. And I had no idea that it was from sugar, no idea. My dietitian at the time assumed that I was just an alcoholic, and I told her that I don't drink, mostly because even one beer would send me into a full psoriasis flare-up. But she looked at my chart, she saw fatty liver, and made that assumption. Nobody asked me what I was eating. Here's what actually happens. So your liver is like the processing plant that you have, and everything that you consume has to go through that plant. When sugar is consumed, your liver handles it. A little bit at a time, not a big deal. But when too much comes in too fast, the plant gets backed up continuously. And the overflow gets converted into fat, and it gets stored right there in the liver. Now do that long enough, and you now have fatty liver disease. And here is the part that makes most people feel uncomfortable about that conversation is too much sugar does the same kind of damage as too much alcohol. And this is not just my opinion. This is actually coming right out of the University of California and their research. I did not drink alcohol, but I had what they called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It's a name, driven entirely by what I was eating. Nobody connected it to the sugar for years. Let's talk about why this is engineered to be addictive. This is the part that I think matters the most, because it takes the blame off your shoulders and put it actually where it belongs. When you eat sugar, your brain releases dopamine, and dopamine is your brain's reward signal. Think of it like a slot machine paying out. Every time you eat sugar, the machine pays. And just like a slot machine, the more you play, the more you need to play to feel the same hit. Your brain adjusts. It stops releasing as much dopamine for the same amount of sugar. So you need more. That is not weakness. That is just how the brain responds to substance abuse. It triggers the dopamine, the same mechanism that makes certain drugs addictive. There was a study where researchers gave a group of rats a choice. Artificially sweetened water on one side, cocaine sweetened water on the other. 94% of the rats chose the sweet water. Even rats that had been using the cocaine for weeks switched when the sweet water was offered. 94%. So the next time that you tell yourself you just need more willpower around the sweets, I want you to remember that number. This is a biological response to a substance that was deliberately designed to create that response. Once you understand that, it still doesn't let you off the hook, but it does give you a real plan instead of just shame. Okay, now I want to show you something that I generally think is one of the most deliberate deceptions in our food supply. There are over 60 different names for sugar on food labels, over 60. Here is why that matters. Ingredients on a label are listed by weight, from the most to the least. If sugar is one of the first 3 ingredients on a list, consumers just know that the product that they're buying is full of sugar. So the food industry found a workaround. Instead of adding 100 grams of one type of sugar, they added 10 grams each of 10 different types. Now each one shows up further down the list and the product looks great, it looks clean. You think you are making a healthy choice, says a rate on the label, but you are eating more sugar than you ever have. And here is how to spot it on any label. Anything that ends in OSE, O-S-E, is sugar. Glucose, fructose, sucrose, dextrose, maltose, anything with the word syrup, corn syrup, rice syrup, malt syrup, anything with the word nectar is sugar. agave nectar, coconut nectar, the words cane, crystals, concentrate, malt, or juice, sugar. Right now in your kitchen, there is probably hidden sugar in your ketchup, pasta sauce, your bread, salad dressing, granola, your flavored yogurt, protein bars, even some vitamins and supplements. Once you know how to read it, you cannot unsee it. Okay, I want to talk to you about my maple syrup story because this is personal and I think it really matters. It's a great story for you. I have maple trees on my property. Every spring, my family and I, we tap them and we collect the sap and we boil it down. Now, the reason why this is important, as I go through the story, I'm going to talk about your choices. Now, we made our own maple syrup right there on the homestead. And it is something that I'm genuinely proud of that. My family, it was great connection time. Something we made with our own hands. Now, when I started the carnivore diet and understood what sugar was actually doing to my body, the maple syrup was the hardest thing that I had to stop. Not because I was physically dependent on it, because it was part of my life and part of my land. It was a huge part of my family coming together. Part of what this homestead meant for my family. So here's what I did. Here's how I made this work for me. So I cut it out completely for 90 days. No maple syrup, no exceptions, because I knew my body needed to heal first. The insulin resistance needed to break. The cravings needed to reset, and something remarkable happened. Around the 30-day mark, the pull towards sweet things just went quiet. The cravings stopped, my energy steadied out, no more afternoon crashes, no more brain fog after the meals, my fatty liver starting to heal, and most of my other problems starting to resolve. After 90 days, when my body had healed, I made a decision. Today, I will put a small amount of maple syrup in my morning coffee, and I savor every drop. Not because I need it, because I chose it. And there's a massive difference between those two things. Needing something and choosing it are not the same thing. I spent decades needing sugar without even knowing I needed it. Now I choose a small amount of something real, something that we made ourselves, something that means something. And this is freedom. Heal first, and then decide what is worth bringing back into your life. Do not negotiate with sugar while your body is still sick from it. Give yourself a clean window. Watch what happens, then choose from health, not from cravings. Okay, what can we do about this problem that we have? There is an actual starting point here, guys, what we start to do today. The first thing we're going to do is a sugar audit in your kitchen. Pull everything out, especially everything in a box. Read every label. If sugar or any of its 60 names is in the first 5 ingredients, make note of it. Don't throw it out today. I don't want you to throw it away today, but you need to know what you're working with. What am I working with here? How much sugar is in the food that I'm eating? 2, cut out the obvious stuff today. Guys, the soda, the juice, the energy drinks, the flavored coffees. A single can of regular soda, 10 teaspoons and 1 soda. A flavored coffee, double that. More than a candy bar. These have got to go first. Start with those today. Number 3, read the labels like your health depends on it, because it does. Anything packaged or processed, flip it over, have a look before it goes in the cart. You're looking for those 60 sugar names and look at where they fall on that list. The shorter the ingredient list, the better. Number 4, give your body a real reset window. 30 to 90 days, please, with no sugar. 90 days. I know that sounds like a long time, but here's what happens. After the first 2 or 3 weeks, the cravings are going to start to quiet down. After 30 days, things that used to taste bland are going to start to taste naturally sweet. Your taste buds start to come alive. Your energy starts to stabilize. The reset is where the healing actually happens. 5, after the reset, choose with knowledge. Real maple syrup, raw honey, a small amount of real fruit. Not because it's healthy, because you are choosing it with your eyes wide open. Not because something in your brain chemistry is running the show anymore. Let's talk about something that's important. Community. Before I close, I want to point you somewhere, because cutting out sugar is one of those changes that sounds simple and hits you hardest in the quiet moments. When you're tired, when you're around people that are eating sweets, you want it. When you're sitting alone wondering, is it even worth it? Community is what gets you through those moments. The group I keep pointing towards is Bella at the Steak and Butter Gang. I have no affiliation. I don't get paid from them. I just could have not gotten through my early days without that kind of support. Daily connection calls, real people going through exactly what you're going through. The link is going to be right there in the description. Guys, you do not have to figure this out alone. It's important. Community is there for you. Okay, let's bring this all home. I ate sugar every day for over 50 years. I made my own maple syrup with my own hands. I poured into it every day. I had fatty liver, high blood pressure, 80 pounds too much, then I couldn't shift. Nobody connected it to the sugar. Now I know better. Sugar consumption in North America is 10 times what it was 200 years ago. Sugar is damaging your liver the same way that alcohol does. It rewires your brain to keep wanting and wanting. And the food industry has spent decades hiding it under 60 different names. But here's what I also know. Your body knows how to heal. Once you stop feeding it what is breaking it, it starts to rebuild. I reversed all my diseases at 56 years old, and food did that for me. If a guy who made his own maple syrup and loved every drop of it can get his health back by being honest about sugar, I promise that you can do it too. Now, if this video helped you today, please share it with one person who needs to hear it. And leave a comment below about your sugar addiction. I'd love to talk to you about it. And if you have not grabbed my free guide yet, the link is also going to be in my description. It's called The 7 Foods Breaking Your Body, and sugar is number 2 on that list. And next week, we're talking about wheat and grains, what modern bread is actually doing to your gut lining, and why it affects a lot more than just your stomach. And until then, guys, trust the process, trust your body, and trust the one who made it for you. Fix your food, fix your life.